In the meantime, the presidency has pushed back on criticism from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, accusing him of envying President Tinubu. The presidency, in a statement by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, urged Atiku to abandon grand illusions about the presidency and focus on making meaningful contributions to Nigeria's development. He also accuses Abubakar of attempting to undermine President Bola Tinubu while neglecting his own party's issues. Onanuga defended President Tinubu's economic reforms, including subsidy removal and refinery restructuring, saying these have resulted in a record increase in government revenue. Onanuga said Atiku's proposed reforms demonstrated a misunderstanding of Nigeria's realities and the requisite solutions to the problem. He urged the former vice president to reassess his political approach and engage in meaningful contributions to Nigeria's development. Now, Dr. Amadi is here to look at some of these issues now. Thank you so much for your time. Doctor, we appreciate your time. But let's quickly start from this issue of election when we talk about ahead of 2025. We're seeing a lot of activities, from candidates who didn't win election in 2023, with both Obi and Kwakwanso, already positioning themselves ahead of 2027. So what do you think has changed, since the 2023 election? And that's one. And what do you think is fueling this optimism now? Well,
what has changed is that the person who won the election, the person declared the winner, has taken over government for more than a year and has largely not done very well. So when the winner takes office and is not doing very well, he generates naturally optimism that he could be defeated. And again, if you look at the electoral map, in 2023, it wasn't a knockout. The president won with 36% or so of the votes. So which means it was, in a sense, a minority presidency in terms of votes. So if you look at it, the two leading opposition candidates, their total votes was, is more than that of the person who won. So basically, a weak presidency, it's not like he had, a strong mandate. And that itself creates the impression that he's vulnerable. He couldn't win in Lagos, he couldn't win in Abuja, he couldn't win in Kano, struggled in Rivers with some alleged and now almost manifest manipulation. And so the story then is that he's weak electorally. And then when you put that together with the fact that, generally speaking, they have not been satisfactory in the economy, even if they mean well, even if they have done their best, the fact of the matter is that today people are struggling. I mean, poverty, the number of about 20-something million people are expected to enter into poverty from this year alone. We're talking about hunger, we're talking about food prices going up, we're talking about currency devaluation with ripple effect across small businesses, big business, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So this is really a vulnerable presidency. But again, does that mean that all these guys who are on the map, who are all over the place, will win the election? It doesn't follow. But again, there is possibility, strong one, that the incumbent government, if they don't change this quickly, might lose. And all this is predicated on the electoral system. Again, some chunk of this country believe that the 2023 election was rigged. Of course, some people talk about the IRF crisis and INEX, continuing blundering and inability to be credible. So question is, this is a winnable election, but of course the other factors are not in. Nobody's talking about electoral reform, and it's interesting that Kwakwanso is in Aba, which suggests serious determination to make incursion into the southeast where he didn't have any showing. But again, he has not spoken out about electoral reform. P2B, the Obidem movement, Kombino everywhere, then Anambra, they're on Twitter space, talking about how they could win election. And they allege that they won and they were thwarted, they were manipulated of power, and they have done nothing. No serious, no paper. Statement
put out there.
Their own position.
Yes,
exactly. True or false? The point of making that irrational that you claim you were rigged and you're not making any effort to change the electoral system. So clearly, there's need to start campaigning. But you see, the problem is that governance will suffer. I mean, you heard the new minister from Kano saying he is in this ministry because of 2027, that he's going to make sure Tinubu wins Kano. Fair comment, but the implication is that this is a minister who just got sworn in. He says, the reason why I'm here is to win election. My worry is that we're going to see, presidency being drawn away from governance. And this is actually the time for greater governance because of the economic crisis. Not peculiar to Nigeria though, but it needs more executive attention, smarter attention. And so the skill will be if the incumbent the presidency could find a way to politic as well as effective in governance. So they need to kind of increase their competence times 2 because they're going to be drawn into real politics now. The way the opposition is moving, P2B, Atiku, Abubakar, Kwakwanzo, they're going to draw the presidency more and more into politics. So they need to have the brain power, the executive attention to attend to this critical problem of economic crisis that's increasing by the day. And that's also a sure route to victory. If the elections are free and fair, you can't win if you're not doing well in domestic policy.
Because what we're hearing is about repositioning ahead of the time, impact. I mean, the Kwakwanso is already talking about trying to ride on the basis of the hardship in the country. And like you just said, quite a lot of economic issues that needs to be dealt with. But again, one will wonder if this is too early or is it an advantage to start from now? And what are the key issues leading to 2027 that needs to be addressed? I know you did mention about some economic issues and all of that. The cost of living is there. Politics. The issue of insecurity is there. I mean,
and the exclusion, sense of inclusion. I mean, the North is crying, South is crying. So again, the advantage of early start is with the opposition. They have none to lose. I mean, they're not governing, so they could be on the campaign trail all the day. Every error of the incumbent government is a political issue to be used for campaign. The campaign is not necessarily about, I think P2B has been way ahead of everybody because using Twitter, comment on every issue is part of campaigning. You don't need to be having rallies or meeting with focus group in anywhere. So he's already campaigning, he's already in the campaign mode. Atiku Abubakar also, to a large extent, is doing that with his critique of government and saying what you do different. So Atiku was already pushing himself as, even though we're not in the parliamentary system, as an alternative government, providing very comprehensive policy roadmap of what you do different. That's campaign. Now, Kwankwaso has gone to the trail of meeting groups. Campaign. The people who are a little bit in a difficulty and who have to calibrate very well is the presidency because they need to also match this campaign. But at the same time, not lose sight of the fact that they're the ones in power. They need to have enough brain power, like I say, to say governance is going on well. At the same time, this is a political team fighting fire for fire. Like Bayo is doing, retorting and challenging statements from opposition leaders. That's fine. Essentially, you have to have people who are on the cockpit grinding out good economic results. Because the truth is this. I was in the US, I was on Rise saying that Trump will win because once the economic headwind is strong, once the economy is not doing well, domestic policy is failing, security, economy, political exclusion, sense of disconnection, disappointment, you can't win except you rig. And that's why some of us really thought that APC will lose, going by Buhari's disastrous 8 years. So the point then remains that this government will either be provoked and forget governance and things get worse and get into the full blast campaign, which will be devastating to Nigerians because the economy will go worse and worse, or they will be able to be smart enough to keep grinding out good results and campaigning. For what I see, I think they will struggle to keep the balance between governing effectively and campaigning. So that's my worry. The tragedy is that at the end of the day, by 2037, things might get worse. And if things get worse, you expect the ruling party to lose. But if they don't lose...
Because if that happens, it will impact on governance. And if governance is imparted...
electoral outcomes will be worse. But that's also assuming that the electoral system is credible. It's not a problem. In every credible electoral system, winning is almost 80% a function of what the economic and social conditions are. 20% messaging and all kinds of that dialectical manipulation. But in a situation like ours, where electoral system is captured, where there's no credibility in the electoral process, winning may not have to do with governing well. So at the end of the day, you govern badly, you win, so you have no incentive to govern well, and that's the crisis of third world, not just Nigeria. Until you fix the electoral system. And that's why I'm worried that these guys who are everywhere campaigning have not spent 1 ounce of energy to move real electoral reform. Because if you're going to have this kind of election, this kind of INEC, then governance and electoral outcomes are inversely proportional. I mean, the worse you govern, the more you have incentive to hijack electoral process. So this is a tricky thing. If you watch the US or other advanced democracies, first 2 years, you focus on governance because essentially that is your scorecard to winning the next election. But here, after 1 year, you are back to campaign because you don't need governance to win election. And so that's really the problem. So I see the tragedy is that end of the day, this government will start too early doing full-blown campaign to react to the opposition leaders who are campaigning already. And they will allow governance to go down, they make appointments. Like I told you, the minister from Kano says, I was appointed because I have to take Kano for the president in 2037. So he defines his mission mandate. He said, I will be in Kano every week. This is a minister. So essentially, everything happening now, appointments are geared towards 2027. And there's no magic of fixing this country, except if you can devote...
It seems the President Tinubu would really have a lot to deal with because at the moment, the security issue is really biting. I mean, we're seeing the Arewa Consultative Forum asking the President to do something about the new terrorist group that is just, surfaced in Kebbi and in Kano as well. So, I mean, how well do you think the President is ready to deal with this issue, particularly the issue of insecurity, and then face the issue of governance, and then the 2027 is around the corner?
I think from evidence, I don't think they are prepared. Again, this is clear. We've seen no improvement in any of these indicators. We've seen no improvement in economy. We've seen no improvement in security. You're talking about a new dangerous group raiding Sokoto and the
Kebbi State, part of Kebbi and Kano as well.
And Kano as well. Now, to defeat it, defeat Boko Haram, defeat other insurgents, defeat other serious terrorists across the country, you need to increase your energy level. That's not available now. So you can't increase the energy level for campaign and policy at the same time. So my worry is this, that it doesn't seem to me that anywhere we're going to buy new intellect, new competence, new energy to solve this problem. In real world, that's an opportunity cost. It can have it. If you spend 80% of your time focusing on A, you have only 20 for B. So ideally, the president should be allowed 2 years, okay, out of the 4 years, fully focus on solving this problem. But he has to play politics. And the way the politics is played, like I said, if the politics is played in the normal way, the president's political masterstroke is governance outcome. So he focuses on his politics in governance. He does well. Once he does well, he has a show-in into power in 2027. But because our electoral system de-incentivizes performance, it means that the president has to be drawn out from performance to go and do the dark acts of politicking, which is what it is. So they go and look for how to win election. And what suffers first is governance. And so this new criminal group needs to be smashed. But to smash it, you need to put in good strategy, resources, time, and show commitment to drive the operational guys, the strategists, the military high command, even the Minister of Defense. You need to really push, like you're injecting energy to everybody. Say, crush these guys. It won't be easy, it won't be a tea party, but then you need energy, you need resources. But when this energy and resources is diverted to politics, then that's the problem. So I pity the presidency because they have to fight for 2027, but at the same time, they have to keep their eye on running a very difficult economic crisis they are facing. So far, so bad. Okay. What will they do in the future?
Just before I let you go, Dr. Sam, speak to us about, again, back to politics, the race for 2027. Yes, we all know that it has begun. But one of the key highlights of 2023 general elections is the massive participation of youth. I mean, young people. So with a renewed focus on youth empowerment, what is likely to change in terms of trends, pattern? We saw that massive participation in 2023, and that led to snowball into obedient movement. Are we likely to have that, going into 2027? Will it be a tall order for obedient movement to pull these together, or are we going to see perhaps a new set of group, emerge ahead of 2027?
I think the obedient movement came out of the NSAS crisis and its disappointment and the determination to change the system arising from it. So 2 things are going to happen now. There's deep cynicism and pessimism at aftermath of the 2023 election. So what Tanko is doing is good. They're trying to get back to people, re-inject them with hope. So if they succeed in telling these guys that, look, we can do this, we're almost there, it will happen. If they can't create new optimism, new hope, that the electoral system can deliver, the challenge they have today is that people are going to ask, what happened in 2023? Because they feel they were short-changed. And many of them feel that perhaps we didn't put up the enough fight we should have put in. So they need to work very hard to pull back that cynicism and inject with a new hope. Again, what happens with this struggle for good governance can snowball. So if they crusade, if the campaign, street campaign gets excited, it can build into a political movement. If the street campaign dissipates, then it'll be difficult to create a kind of obedient movement. So I think they're on the right path, but I have my doubts if we don't fix election that we can generate the level of enthusiasm we have to do.
Dr. Sam Amadi, Director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Always a delight to have you on the News Night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.